Welcome to Poetry Pea. Today I'm pondering why haiku has been called the poetry of the noun, and whether stripping away verbs and adjectives can actually unleash a successful and powerful haiku or senryū into our world. It's quite possible that you'll think this is a contradiction of the idea of lyrical poetry that I've been espousing over the last wee while. And I wondered that too as I was considering doing the topic. So let's see if you and I can come to a conclusion together. As usual, I thought this would be a quick topic, but oh no, there will be at least one more podcast. Today is going to be, I hope, a thinking day, and what I'd like you to do is start out by mulling over a time you felt completely overwhelmed by a moment. Maybe it was a freezing morning, or a sudden quiet in a crowded room, or being stuck in traffic, unable to go anywhere with rain pelting down and men with orange vehicles and orange clothes clambering all over the street. Oh, yes, that was me. Or for a more calming experience, watching a kestrel hover over a grassy field. Whew, back in a calm place. If you had to write a poem about it, this moment that we're talking and thinking about, your natural reaction might be to go for words like beautiful, loneliness, sadness, emotional, or in my case, anger. But we are haiku poets, and we don't do that, do we? You and I don't tell our readers how to feel. Instead, we hand them an object, something concrete, and let them reflect on it. Anyway, hold that thought, that picture in your head. We may come back to it later. But right now, I'd like to think about concrete versus abstract nouns. If I give you the noun grief to think about, what is it that you see? You'll almost certainly have a feeling in your heart, in your gut. But the word grief is not really tangible. You can't taste, physically feel, see, hear, or smell it, can you? So if you want to write a haiku or senryū about grief, you need a noun, a concrete, tangible noun, or maybe more than one. I have a couple of poems for you. Grave visit. A smatter of snow this morning. Grave visit. A smatter of snow this morning. Noel King, from the Poetry Pea Journal 225. This no-verb poem is a fine example of how nouns and time markers can create meaning without narration. It contains no verb at all. The first line, grave visit. The poet's not visiting a grave, he is static. You know he's there. There's no movement, and it's quite stark, isn't it? It definitely sets a mood. And what's going through your head? What do you associate with grave visit? Remembrance, mourning, family, mortality, ritual, all of those things and maybe more. But Noel hasn't said any of those things, has he? The second line, a smatter of snow. To be honest, when I first read this poem, I was gobsmacked by the use of the word smatter. Noel, I just love that choice of word. And to me, a smatter of snow suggests a sparsity, a sparseness, something being incomplete, and transience. It just feels so much sadder than heavy snowfall, at least to me. This snow, The smatter also suggests that the event in the poem is not a huge dramatic affair, but maybe ritualistic, normal. And smatter is restrained. And possibly that's why I noticed it, and why it had such an emotional pull for me. The third line, this morning. And of course, this morning grounds the poem in a specific moment. Without it, the poem might feel timeless, an anytime, anywhere poem, but it's not. It happened this morning. And it happens every morning that you read the poem. It almost feels conversational, inviting you and I into the experience. If Noel had given us a verb in the poem, something like, I don't know, grave visit, a smatter of snow covers the ground this morning, he'd be starting to explain it all to us. And it's no longer that pencil drawing on the page, one of those that we're going to colour in ourselves. Because some of the drawing has been coloured in for us. And the brilliance of the original poem is that it's a poem entirely in the present of perception. The snow is fleeting, the visit is brief, the morning will pass, but remembrance continues. And I get that just from the associations I'm making from the nouns. Grave visit, a smatter of snow this morning. Noel King. A child still again. White lilies. A child still again. White lilies. And that's one of mine. It was printed in Prune Juice, issue 38. Again, this poem contains no verb. Each word is functioning as a noun, an adjective, or an adverb. And what I was hoping was that the poem gives you the feeling that it is suspended in time, and the gaps in the poem leave you to join the dots, make your own connections. The first line, a child still. Do you mentally try and resolve this line? Do you want to add something? So I don't know, a child still sleeping, a child still silent, a child still alive, that sort of thing. But the absence of the verb creates a gap. Meaning is generated by what's missing. And it could be quite personal to you. The second line, again. Just the one word. And it changes things. It suggests repetition. And I hope it gets you wondering, what is it that's happening again? Has the child been running wild and calmed down again? Are we having an encounter with grief? It suggests reoccurrence without specifying what it is that is recurring. The third line, white lilies. And now we're getting to the core of it. And it gives you the answer if you care to hear it. Lilies have multiple associations. Innocence, purity, childhood, funerals, memorials, resurrection. And the use of the white intensifies those associations. So whilst the poem doesn't spell out what it's saying, it gives you clues to make connections. It's very difficult to critique your own work. But I hope the gaps, the clues, add to the poem, giving you a feeling that it's haunted by what I will not say. and that you can sense the untold story behind the words. But I'm not narrating it. I'm not telling you that story. Instead, I give you a child, a recurrence, and the lilies, and trust you to inhabit the silence between them. This poem and the previous one exemplify what Edward Hirsch describes as the arrested moment of verbless poetry. Nothing really happens in the poem. There is no narrative movement taking you along. And in both the poems, Noel and I have stepped aside and trusted the nouns to do the emotional heavy lifting. As Michael Dylan Welch puts it in his essay, Discipline of Haiku, by presenting the thing itself, you enable readers to experience the thing for themselves, without commentary or judgment getting in the way. As soon as you start commenting on or judging what you experience, you start doing the reader's job. In short, for haiku, don't write about your feelings. Instead, write about what caused your feelings. Haiku focuses on the thing itself, not your interpretation of the thing. Michael, if you're listening, I agree with you. I wish I could have written that little piece myself. So what I'm propounding is that you make the noun or nouns the king of your piece. All fair and good. But how do you do that? Well, you have to be strict with yourself and come down hard on other aspects of grammar, most particularly adjectives and verbs. Yes, I know we often talk about strong verbs, but that is a different technique. Today, this way of writing is all about the noun and the avoidance of the verb. Why? Well, I wondered, again, can it benefit our haiku to lose the verb? And to go back to our friend Hirsch, he theorises that a verbless poem can create a static quality, a sense of the arrested moment which freezes a moment in time. And we've seen that in the previous poems. And this allows our reader to dwell in the poem, to consider what may be going on. So I thought I'd bring you a few more poems that we can dwell in. First up, one of my favourite poets, as you know, John Wills. A box of nails on the shelf of the shed, the cold. A box of nails on the shelf of the shed, the cold. John Wills from Cicada 1.2 in 1977. John Wills has arranged his nouns to allow you and I to inhabit this poem, to be in the shed, in the cold, with the box of nails. Nothing else is mentioned. And at first we home in on the box of nails. Then he widens the focus as we notice the shelf it's on. And then even further, we're in the space in the shed. And finally, we're surrounded by the atmosphere, the cold. What associations do these nouns bring to you? Well, I am sorry about this, but I'm going to be a little sexist here. Because a box of nails I would never associate with any of the females in our family, which maybe says something about us, but it speaks to me of a male presence, which is reinforced by the idea of the shed, you know, the traditional man cave. However, what is unsaid as far as I'm concerned is that the usual person who inhabits the shed, male or female, is not there. And of course, it's cold. Could it be that they haven't been there for some time? Or is it simply that the weather is cold so they're doing projects elsewhere. We don't know, and we're not told. We're given a moment in time to connect the nouns ourselves. A box of nails on the shelf of the shed. The cold. John Wills. On its way west to paradise. Migrating bird. On its way west to paradise. Migrating bird. Choshi. Translated by Furuta Shokin. Again, no verbs, because I think migrating here is acting as an adjective. It's describing what the bird is doing. Having said that, it's different to the poems we've heard so far. Even though it captures an event at a moment of time, you feel the movement in it. This poem is dynamic. It's not specifically used a verb such as travelling, but we know from the first line that the bird is travelling because it's on its way west. And again, the nouns are doing the heavy lifting. If we weren't haiku poets, maybe we'd not get the significance of the wording that this 18th century Japanese poet has used. But we are. And we know that the word west is associated with a person who has died, who in Buddhist terms could be moving towards enlightenment and rebirth. The bird isn't specified, but in this case to specify it wouldn't probably make a difference to the poem, because it's the adjective that gives the noun its emotional resonance this time. Migrating makes us think of a seasonal change and life cycles. And so, do you, as I do, associate the bird with the idea of a soul moving on? As you remain in the poem, do you wonder at the juxtapositioning of the spiritual with the natural? Do you think about mortality and transcendence? But there is one conundrum I can't solve. This is a translation, so I wonder if in the original Japanese this poem has a verb. And in honesty, I have no idea. If anyone can translate it, please get back to me and let me know. On its way west to paradise. Migrating bird. Choshi. Now, before we carry on, I have to do the bit I least enjoy. Asking for support doesn't come naturally to me, but the truth is, without your help, I can't keep this podcast going. Or any of the other things that we do at Poetry Pea. So if you enjoy the podcast and would like to help, there are lots of ways you can do it. You can become a member, you can buy me a coffee, you can make a donation via PayPal. Every contribution, no matter the size, helps keep the wheels turning. And you know, support doesn't have to be financial. You can help by sharing the podcast on social media, telling your poetry friends about us, recommending us to your local writing group, or volunteering some of your time and skills. There are always jobs that need doing, and Poetry Pea is built on the generosity of people who care about this community. If we've brought a little bit of inspiration, a little bit of friendship, encouragement, or poetry into your life, do please consider supporting us in whatever way you can. Thank you. It really does make a difference. Okay, let's get back to my comfort zone, back to the English language haiku. What do you think of this one? The emptiness where the eyes were in the shed. Snakeskin. The emptiness where the eyes were in the shed. Snakeskin. And that's from Elizabeth Searle Lamb, from 39 Blossoms, which I'm happy to say you can have a read of on the Haiku Foundation Digital Library. At the point in which you realise the poet is speaking of a snakeskin, don't you feel the time stop? We have our arrested moment. The poem is an observation. Shiki might call it a scene from life, but Searle has written a piece with depth, don't you think? The poem is observing the snakeskin. The snake is no longer there, and what Searle is highlighting is the absence of something. In this case, the absence of the eyes. She is juxtaposing the idea of absence and continuation. The shedding of one life to begin another. All this done through the associations we have with the nouns and the connections we make between them. The emptiness, where the eyes were in the shed. Snakeskin. Elizabeth Searle Lamb. Spring buds. The bright red of her sweater. Spring buds. The bright red of her sweater. Charles Rossiter. Modern Haiku, Volume 42, 3. Wow, there are so many ways you can interpret this poem. But I want to look at the nouns, of which there are two, buds and sweater. For me, buds carry the suggestions of anticipation, emergence, youthfulness, potential, and perhaps something being incomplete. Without naming any of these associations, and with the use of the word spring, the ideas of youth, anticipation, and emergence are reinforced. Does it work like that for you? Spring buds. The bright red of her sweater. Charles Rossiter. Ripples of water in the brimming bird bath. Spring breeze. Ripples of water in the brimming bird bath. Spring breeze. Anne Curran. And I found this on the Haiku Foundation's blog, January 21st, 2026, Haiku Dialogue. As you listen to this poem, you can hear that it's almost entirely constructed from concrete nouns. Ripples, water, bird bath, spring. Although in this case, if we're being picky, it's really adjective adjacent, in that it's modifying the noun breeze. It's a series of observations, isn't it? The ripples of water, the bird bath brimming over, and then after the cut created by the M dash, we find out why. It's brimming over because of the breeze. The spring breeze, in fact. The poet, Anne, isn't directly telling us that the spring breeze is causing the ripple in the water of the bird bath, which then causes the water to fall. No. The nouns show us, and we are left alone as the reader to put the pieces together. And they're working hard for Anne. She's given us those clues. And let's just take a look at what we might associate the nouns with. At least from my point of view, you might see more or different things. Ripples make me think about movement, transience, disturbance. Water. And then automatically I have pictures of reflections. But I also know water as a life giver. But at this point in the poem, I have no idea what the water is. Is it sea? Is it river? Is it a tap? Ripples of water. But now, in the second line, we have a bird bath. I'm in the garden. I see birds. I see water sustaining the birds. I see the movement of the water through the movement of the birds. Ripples of water in the brimming bird bath. spring breeze. Now, obviously, the breeze suggests movement, but as it's modified by spring, in my head anyway, we have a suggestion of gentleness and renewal. And of course, we now know that the movement of the water is probably not about the birds, but about the spring breeze. Ripples of water in the brimming bird bath, spring breeze. As we've seen with some of the other poems, there is a judicial use of an adjective, in this case, brimming, which enhances the poem. But judicial is the key word here. In this noun-heavy technique, we're trying, as I said earlier, to be sparing with our adjectival interventions. For me, in this instance, a brimming bird bath suggests could have rained recently, seasonal abundance, because we know it's spring, and the bird bath is overflowing with possibility. And because it's used in conjunction with the spring breeze, it just reinforces the sense of spring as a season of plenitude. And like Choshi's poem, this Verbless poem has a certain dynamism about it, doesn't it? So how are you enjoying the contemplation of this poem? Ripples of water in the brimming bird bath, spring breeze. Anne Curran. And for our last poem of the day, one from me. Huddled masses on the New Jersey shore, storms from the east. Huddled masses on the New Jersey shore, storms from the east. And that was in Scarlet Dragonfly in 2023. And this noun-heavy haiku employs allusion, word association, and omission. The first line, huddled masses. Okay, not strictly a concrete object, naughty me. However, because of the illusion, if recognised, the image does become more concrete. At least that's what I was hoping. Do you hear the echo of Emma Lazarus's famous poem, The New Colossus, in which she writes the line, "Your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." And that first line, I hope, carries associations of immigrants, refugees, vulnerability, maybe hope, definitely collective humanity. The second line, on the New Jersey shore. Now that's better. We definitely have something concrete now, as the poem becomes specific. The New Jersey shore carries multiple associations. Beaches and tourism, Atlantic weather, Hurricane Sandy, definitely true for me as my son was living there at the time. Immigration through nearby New York Harbour. You get a terrific view of Ellis Island from parts of New Jersey. But not only does this line ground the poem in a real location, but I think it also makes the possibly abstract huddle masses a little bit more concrete. The third line, storms from the east. Now, the poem could be alluding to weather or the direction of travel of many of the immigrants who historically have arrived on the shores of the US. But it never explains whether these are literal weather systems or metaphorical ones. The absence of the verb prevents the poem from definitely becoming a statement about immigration, climate, politics, or history. Instead, it preserves a moment of uncertainty in which all of those possibilities remain available. Huddled masses on the New Jersey shore, storms from the east. Okay, so how do we write using this technique? Because for some of us it's going to be really hard. May I make a suggestion? Let's have a go at it together. You can go back to your previous thought. Remember, you were thinking about a situation that had really hit you, had really stuck with you. Or you could just look out the nearest window. If you're walking, stop for a moment or three. Have a considered look around you. Or just have a look round where you're situated now. What's happening? What can you see? What's the one object that draws you in? I'm going to do it too. I just had a look out the window. There is another storm coming down the valley. I can see it. And it's lunchtime, so the kids are coming home from school, really sort of stooped over in the wind. And my neighbour's daughter is out on her swing. She spends hours on that swing. So hopefully when I consider that image, I'll be able to find something and create a poem which has a mood, which makes you feel, but doesn't tell you how to feel. I'll get back to you. I'll work on it for another podcast in a couple of weeks. And if you want to work with me on this, if you want to write a poem noun heavy, no verbs, maybe a judicial adjective that could make me feel a little like you're feeling, write a poem that makes me join the dots rather than tells me exactly what to feel. Send it to me. Can you get it to me by the 16th of June? It might just make it into the next journal, as well as a podcast. If you're coming to this too late to have a go, why not give the noun haiku a try and see if you can get it successfully published with us during one of our submission periods. In fact, don't forget, there's the video prompt at the moment, and if you're listening right now, we have a one-line haiku submission period open. Anyway, if you've missed all that, try it in another journal and tell me if you're successful. Now, I know we didn't really experience too many poems this week. There's a lot of thinking involved in this podcast. And I know my little brain was feeling frazzled as I brought this part of my research to a close. I hope you're not frazzled. I hope you enjoyed it. And just to reiterate, don't forget, you can get me your noun poem by the 16th of June to the haiku submission email. There's the one-line haiku open until the 15th of June on the haiku submission email. And Lakshmi this month is waiting for your poems for the video prompt. And remember, for the video prompt, the poem must go in the comments. If it's not there, it has not been submitted. Right, I'm off for a lie down. Write and tell me your thoughts on the podcast, even if you don't fancy having a go at the poetry of nouns. But I hope you do. Till next week, keep writing. And remember, there will be some links in the show notes on the website. Ciao!